This morning, I invite you with open hearts and minds to ponder with me this profound message in today's gospel reading from John, in which we witness Jesus' miraculous healing of a blind man. Now, this is not just a story of physical healing. It is a beautiful metaphor for spiritual awakening and transformation, an invitation for each of us to see the world anew through eyes of faith, hope, and love. The story begins with Jesus encountering a blind man, born blind. As Jesus and his disciples walk along, the disciples question whose sin caused this man's blindness. Was it his own sin or that of his parents? But Jesus shifts the focus entirely from blame and judgment, saying that it's neither this man nor his parents, but this has happened so that Jesus can reveal the works of God, miracles of God among us. Jesus reveals a critical truth. This man's hardships are not rooted in sin or failure, but they open a pathway for miraculous transformation. This moment underscores God's grace that is not conditional upon, and it's not based on our perceived worthiness. The man's blindness then becomes a canvas on which God will paint a miracle. How often do you and I find ourselves like the disciples, seeking someone to blame, someone that's responsible for the challenges we face? We might wonder why misfortunes befall certain individuals or communities, especially those that are marginalized and struggling. Yet, in our focus on identifying fault, we may miss the very miracles that are happening all around us. Miracles of healing, miracles of hope, miracles of love that spring forth unexpectedly, like wildflowers in the desert. Jesus engages with the man, mixing blood with spittle and applying it to the blind man's eyes, instructing him to go and wash and be clean in the pool of Siloam. And when he does so, the man's sight is restored, and he experiences an awakening, not only in vision, but in spirit. He moves from being an outcast to a witness, proclaiming the miracle that has taken place in his life. This story can serve as an inspiration for us at Highlands United Methodist, a community that has in its history experienced its own spiritual awakening. Just a short time ago in the long arc of history, our church was marked by exclusivity and discrimination, a place where judgment could easily overshadow grace. Yet, through the power of Jesus Christ, we have been transformed. We now open our arms wide in welcome. We do our very best to be inclusive, fundamentally redefining our mission to love God and serve our neighbor. We have come to realize that every person, regardless of their background, deserves respect and dignity and is worthy of the love and grace of God. Our vision of being an inclusive church reminds us that transformation is not just about personal change, it's about communal healing. 6 days a week now, we care for those who lack basic resources downstairs, offering food, clean clothing, and companionship, compassion to the most vulnerable among us. Through these acts of service, we bear witness to the miracles that arrive from compassion and openness and love. We are reminded that the healing we offer reflects the healing that each of us have received from Jesus Christ. As we reflect on our own journey, let us remain vigilant against falling into the trap of religious authorities of Jesus' time who were more focused on theological debate about what was happening and failed to recognize that miracle that was right there in front of them, staring them in the face. They questioned the man's identity. They sought to discredit him and missed the very work of God occurring in their midst. By focusing on rules and regulations, they overlooked the love and grace being poured out by Jesus. Today, in our quest for understanding and connection, let us not miss the countless miracles that unfold all around us here at this church and in our community. Every time we see someone lifted from despair through our collective care, every time we witness a reconciliation through our acceptance of people, we are experiencing the miraculous. What might these miracles remind us of? They call us to deepen our faith, to strengthen our resolve, and to awaken to the possibilities of hope and transformation that are all around us. As we continue to serve and open our hearts to those in need and to one another, let us carry the spirit of the blind man who, upon receiving sight, began to declare the goodness of God. Let us share stories of hope and healing with others, allowing the light of Christ to shine through each of us. We had a member of our church named Tom who was blind. He came back to church after most of a lifetime of being absent from church. He used to sit in this very empty section right here. He came to church, he got to know people, he sang hymns, he felt revitalized by church. And one day, I got a phone call from Tom, and he said, "I hear there's going to be a church picnic down at Patchwork Farms, and I'd like to go. Could you give me a ride?" I said, "Tom, I'd be happy to give a ride." So I went a few blocks away from the church and picked him up on that Sunday afternoon. And as we began to make our way down to Patchwork Farms, Tom said, "You know why I want to go to the picnic?" I said, "No, why?" He goes, "I want to play baseball. I hear there's going to be a baseball game." I didn't say anything, but I thought, "Tom, you're blind. How is this going to work?" Well, we got down to Patchwork Farms. There was a game of baseball that was quickly organized by Tim Brennan, a member of the church who loved baseball. He was pitching. And he went to the pitcher's mound, and when it was Tom's time at bat, someone led him to the plate. He took his stance. Tim said, "I'm going to throw it right down the middle." And he did. Tom made contact with that bat, and someone helped him run to second base, a double. I then knew what the kingdom of God looked like. Kingdom of God looks like a blind man playing baseball, a man who's surrounded by love and possibility and hope, and people who made his wish come true. It was a miracle. As a side note, Tom later inherited a great deal of money from an aunt who died, and he decided to retire from his job at the Social Security Administration and move to Atlanta to an apartment very close to a MARTA stop so he could walk to MARTA stations and ride the MARTA train to go see baseball games the rest of his life. Another miracle. As we move forward through Lent, as we go through this week, may we keep our eyes open and our antenna up to the miracles around us. Let us not be quick to judge. Let us not assign blame, but rather to bear witness to the beauty of God's grace at work. May we be inspired by the healing of the blind man, embracing our call to be a church that sees, a church that serves, and a church that rejoices the miraculous transformations of all God's children. Welcome to Highlands. Miracles happen here.